Welcome back to Silver Thread Sewing. I'm Diane. This is Friday Sews. I appreciate your stopping by to check out my little video. If you have watched any of my others, you've probably heard me yammer on about my Simplicity 9473 dress. I made three practice bodice pieces for the dress. And kept making little alterations. I find it easier personally to make small changes, even if it takes me longer, and even if I have to go back and do it 2 or 3 times. I can tell more intentionally what I'm changing if I do that. So I wound up at the end taking 1.5 inches of length out of the bodice. I took that at the lengthen and shorten lines. I made version or view B, but I put the neckline for view C. But it has the 3/4 inch sleeves, and it's just a really pretty, that's my notes where I wrote down what changes I made. Probably shouldn't write on the pattern since I don't cut my patterns, I trace them, and then I write on the envelope. So, but you know, you do what you can, and I have a hard time keeping up with things if I just, if I don't write it down, I have a hard time keeping up. So anyway, back to the dress. I had made my practice bodices out of muslin, just cotton muslin. And when I cut my main dress out of rayon challis, which came from Fabric Mart Fabrics, and I will try to link to that fabric in the description box or put an item number or something, so because they still have it, I checked, and they still have that fabric, and it's beautiful. So I really enjoyed that. Anyway, the rayon challis was thinner. It drapes more than the muslin did, and when I started to sew the bodice for the real fabric up, I noticed it was just a little bit bigger through the waist. And I just took right in below the armhole and started at nothing, and I went out about 1/2 inch on each side and took 1/2 inch out of that seam toward the waist, and that cinched it in good, and it fit me better. It looked a little more flattering, and of course I had to do the same to the top of the skirt so they would fit together well, and they did. My seams matched up and all that, so it worked out. Whether I did it the correct way or not, it worked out, and I guess that's what's most important in the end, maybe. But I will put some pictures in somewhere of me wearing the dress. I wore it, I may have already said it, I wore it on Easter Sunday and got several compliments, and I had a few people say, "Did you buy that dress or did you make that dress?" So when they asked that, I figured, well, you know, that's a good sign. I didn't make too many mistakes that they could see, at least. Of course, those people love me, and they would never tell me I looked horrible, even if I did, and probably do sometimes. But it's nice to be loved. But my husband took my pictures, and he wanted me to do a twirl, since the skirt, it's a circle skirt and it flares out. So you're going to see a twirl from an old lady who's somewhat stiff and arthritic. But I didn't fall down, and I didn't throw anything out of place, so it's all good. But it was fun, and he got a kick out of it, and so did I. So I will insert that so you can see it, and I hope you laugh too. I hope it makes you think it's funny. Anyway, the dress is pretty straightforward. It really went together well, and the fit I found to be true to what the numbers, you know, said. I didn't have anything that I thought, well, that doesn't sound right, or that doesn't look right. After I practiced on my 3 little bodice pieces, the actual garment went together fast. I would say, for me personally, I tend, at least in the past, when it's something easy, like where it tells you to stay stitch a neckline, or where it tells you to, you know, press your seams one way or another, or whether it's just those things that I kind of get in my head that, oh, well, that's such a simple little step, that can't make that big a difference. But it really does. And if I slow down and take my time and be very intentional about each step, even those little steps that seem like they're not going to make that big a difference. For the princess lines on this dress, I even took a little chalk pen and marked in the seam allowance down that princess seam, because it's a curved seam, and if you sew it off a little bit, it won't fit correctly. And after I went to all the trouble to practice on the muslin garment first, I thought, I'm going to be extra careful, and I'm going to treat this fabric very, very gently, and I was careful not to stretch things out. And usually if it tells me to match the notches, for instance, I will go ahead and match those up first and put a pin or a clip, and then maybe match up the points that I know where they go, like the end, like the sleeve pieces to the armhole, and then match those notches. And that's true for whatever you're doing. I think if we slow down and take our time and really understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, that helps to minimize the mistakes for me personally. I did do one thing that the pattern doesn't tell you to do. I lined the skirt as well as the bodice. The only thing that's not lined on this dress is the sleeves. They're one layer. But I had enough fabric, and it was a little bit thin. It was a little bit, I shouldn't say sheer, because you couldn't really see through it, but it just was thin. It was just a thin fabric, which is the nature of rayon challis. But so I went ahead and just cut another, the skirt pieces again, and I lined the skirt. Now, I did shorten it by about 1.5 inches so it wouldn't be showing out from the bottom, and did a narrow rolled hem on the skirt. Well, I didn't do a rolled hem because I can't get a rolled hem to go over the seams. I don't know, you probably don't have any trouble with that, but I do. I can get it started in my foot for my sewing machine, the rolled hem foot, but when I come to a seam, it always gets stuck. And I know I've watched tutorials on how to grade the seam allowance down for the side seams, but I just can never get it to do right. It always messes up. So what I did, I went to the machine and took about a 1/4 inch seam from the edge of the bottom of the skirt, and just sewed that seam all the way around, and then took it to my iron, and that seam, you wouldn't think that one row of stitching would make that big a difference, but it just gives you something to turn up, and it's even. And then I turned it up again and sewed it down, and it looked okay as far as I can tell. I mean, it suited me, so, but I will probably be making this dress again, definitely. It may not for a little while, just because I've got my Simple Sew Grace dress to finish in the blue cotton with the red and pink roses. So hopefully by next week I'll have that one finished. It's been kind of a busy week on the life front. My dad's not doing too good. He's lost about probably 30 pounds since January when he broke his hip, and I've never known him not to have a big appetite, but he's kind of gotten to where he doesn't want anything to eat. And you ask him a dozen times, what can I bring you to eat? What can I bring you to eat? And he'll tell me something, then I take it, and he might eat 2 or 3 bites, and he says, I don't want any more. And so that's hard, and he'll be 92 if nothing happens till July. So good man, faithful man. So whatever happens, he's ready to go. But it sure is hard to see him go down like that. But anyway, I have one piece of fabric to show you. I had a sweet comment on my strawberry video, I think it was my tote bag video maybe. They had commented on my picture up here of my strawberries, and that they also love strawberries. So I found this one piece of fabric at Joann. I had went down to check on my serger. It's still not ready. My person that fixes it has been really swamped with stuff even before I took my serger in. So it's been about 4 or 5 weeks that my serger's been gone. And I didn't think I even needed one, but I find that I really miss it a lot now that I don't have it. So anyway, here's my fabric. It's just 100% cotton, 45 inches wide. And isn't it pretty? Oh, I just love strawberries. I don't know what it is about them. They just make me happy. But I'll probably make me a pair of cotton pajama pants out of this, probably. I make all my pajamas. I use the Tilly and the Buttons Margot pajama pattern from their Love at First Stitch book. And that's a great little pattern, and they fit me good. And I've got it down to, I can make a pair in, an hour from start to finish, just about. So I'll probably make some out of this. I would like to find a pajama top pattern that I like as good as I do that pajama bottom pattern, because I usually just sleep in a t-shirt and my pajama pants. But I would like to find maybe a short-sleeved pajama top pattern that I liked, that I could use matching fabric and make some sets, because I usually look like, pitiful, because nothing ever matches. I always tell my husband, if I have to go to the hospital in the middle of the night, you better, put something decent on me, because I look terrible. So I'm going to finish up my Simple Sew Grace dress, hopefully this week, early in the week, I hope. And I've got my sewing room tour coming out in just a couple days, hopefully. I started to come in and just, carry stuff out and straighten up and make it look better. And I thought, that's phony. I'm not going to be phony. I'm going to put it on there like it is. And it's not a big space, and it's certainly not fancy, but it's functional. And I've had it moved around 100 times in the past couple of years, but it functions this way. I have an area to cut. I have my ironing board, and I have my machine. So I'm just going to show you the truth of it. It'll be what it will be. But I love seeing other people's sewing room. It's like paying them a visit and seeing how they store their stuff and how they keep their machine set up in relation to their ironing surface or whatever. It's just, it gives you some inspiration and some idea of what you and I can do. So that's my plan, is to do my sewing room tour. And I've also got some patterns. I've got a lot of patterns that have never been used yet. And I don't buy a whole lot of new ones, although I did order 3 or 4 recently. They were having a Simplicity sale on their website, and I think I got them for $2.99. Might have been $3.99. I don't really remember, but they've not come yet. But I didn't get very many. I got just a few, and some things that I thought could be staple items that once I get the pattern to fit me, like I did this dress, it's there and you can make as many as you want to. So that's what I'm planning. So cross your fingers, and if you feel like staying in there to watch, I certainly appreciate it. But I'm gonna quit yammering at you. There's a lot of Friday Sew people, and I know you want to go on and watch them. And thanks to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for creating the hashtag that we can all find one another. I feel like I have just found so many people to watch because of Friday Sews. And I really enjoy that. Just remember, the only way you'll be a failure at sewing is if you quit trying. So never quit trying. After all, what's the worst that can happen? I'll let you know. Bye.